Just two things. Last Friday, I participated in the Freedom District Lions Club golf tournament, and I'm bringing that up because we have these service organizations all around Carroll County that do so much. Whether it's the Rotary, the Kiwanis, Lions Clubs all over. And we have so many people that support these organizations that are all service organizations and all provide so much needed help and services in their own communities. And not only the volunteers that help with these fundraisers, but also the people that participate. You know, they give us money, they buy lots of whatever those things are. I'm not a golfer. You have to buy things that if you want to get a free shot, what's it called? Mulligans. I got to sell the mulligans. So, you know, and it's just people are so willing to support these organizations, and that's what I think is the backbone of what we do in Carroll County. So I'm bringing that one up, but there's many, many others that I'd be here all day talking about all the good things, but please continue to support these organizations and thank them for all the work that they do. The other thing that went on last week on Sunday evening, which is something I'm very, very proud of, is Bridging Life had a Gold Star Family Day, a luminary event at the Dove House. And they started that a number of years ago, and I was there for the first one because I served on that board for 10 years. And the first year, it was great, and each year it has gotten better and better and better. And you say, you know, what is the luminary event? They put 200 paper bags lining the parking lot and the visitors, and visitors came from all over to honor the memories of the Carroll County Gold Star families, and that's people that have lost their loved ones and in the line of duty. Each bag was labeled with the name of fallen military members, and it takes a lot of volunteers just to come up with all those names and do the bags and set up. And I think the first event, it was at Carroll Hospice. It's now Bridging Life. It was Carroll Hospice. Now we do all the other LifeBridge facilities. That's why we changed the name. But it took place in 2019 and has developed into a Carroll tradition, and it's grown and grown and grown. Kathy Barna is a volunteer and manager at Bridging Life, and she was the lead organizer of the event. But when I looked at how it's grown and what the other activities, there's a nice article in the paper, and I appreciate the newspaper covering this fantastic event that we do here in Carroll. One of the things that they do, it says, by lighting a luminary today, we send a powerful message to our Gold Star families that you are never alone and you're never forgotten. And it's a sacrifice that carries immeasurable burden. So we honor people from the Revolutionary War to the present day, and the number of people that have borne the profound sacrifice of losing a loved one in the line of duty. We also had American flags, POW flags lining the lot, and members of Bikers Without Borders stood in a crescent holding American flags and the flags of different branches of the military. We had some Gold Star mothers speak, several. We also have a We Honor Veterans program at Bridging Life at Carroll Hospice, the former Carroll Hospice, and we are like the highest rank of hospice veterans programs that you can get in the nation. So when we bring a veteran into care at Carroll at the hospice, they are given a formal thank you by a group of volunteers. And it's a very special thing that we do for every veteran that comes through the hospice program. So we had several Gold Star mothers that spoke, and Mission Barbecue served food, and there was a special remembrance. One of the Mission Barbecue organizers lost their son recently, which was a true tragedy. So I think they honored those folks as well. So, and I think one of the Bikers Without Borders Foundation was a member of the Reese Volunteer Fire Company, so we have many of our own service members here involved in these as well. So just remember that for next year. It's really an inspiring event that we have, and it gets better and better, and it's a great time to just sit and reflect upon those that have fallen in our county. I'll read this, and then someone can come up and accept it. I have a proclamation here for Long-Term Care Residents Month, Residents' Rights Month, October 2025. Whereas the theme of Residents' Rights Month 2025 is Stand With Me, we wish to honor our fellow citizens who live in long-term care communities and celebrate their dignity, their right to be vocal about their preferences, and their right to live full, enriching lives. And whereas federal and state regulations guarantee residents their individual rights designed to promote and maintain dignity and autonomy. And whereas long-term care ombudsman work to educate residents about their rights, and empower them with the self-advocacy tools that enable them to live with dignity and self-determination. And whereas Residents' Rights Month is an opportunity to recognize residents, facility staff, family members, and other citizen advocates who work daily to promote and support residents' rights. Now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Carroll County, do hereby proclaim October 2025 as Long-Term Care Residents' Rights Month. In Carroll County, we urge every Carroll County resident to take time this month to acknowledge long-term care residents and the people who care for them for their valuable contribution to our community, adopted this second day of October 2025 by the Carroll County Commissioners.
Thank you for that recognition and for celebrating this month and recognizing that for all of the long-term care ombudsman folks in Carroll County. I just wanted to, I'm Celine Steckel, Director of Citizen Services. This is Gina Valentine. She is our Division Manager with Aging and Disabilities. We have Gail Gannon, our Manager of our Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, and then Mackenzie Streeter is our Ombudsman Coordinator as well. And they work very tirelessly throughout the county in all of our long-term care and assisted living facilities to ensure they're advocating for resident rights. And I'm going to turn it over to Gina to share a little bit more about what that means, and then turn it over to the ladies.
Yeah, and I'll be brief, but so the residents' rights are so important to make sure residents living in nursing homes and assisted living facilities are protected. I often refer to the residents' rights as the backbone of just that, and making sure that their rights are upheld. And Gail and Mackenzie work extremely hard. They visit all of the nursing homes and assisted living facilities in Carroll County. There's 10 nursing homes, sorry, I'm stealing your thunder, and 28 assisted living facilities. And they visit all of them on a regular basis to ensure that residents know what their rights are, that their family members know what the rights are, and also educating the staff members to make sure that they are respecting and upholding the residents' rights. So I'm going to turn it over to Gail and Mackenzie now.
Thank you, Commissioners, for recognizing October as Residents' Rights Month. I'd like to expand a little bit upon this year's theme, which is Stand With Me. For me, the key word here is with. The theme is not stand up for me, and I think the important distinction here with the word with is because it represents a call to the broader community to recognize each resident's personhood and the power each resident has to direct their own life and the services that are provided to them. When a resident approaches a long-term care ombudsman with a concern, sometimes they will ask us to advocate for them by talking to facility management or staff to help solve a problem on their behalf. But Mackenzie and I often encourage residents to speak up for themselves, and we offer to advocate with them or by empowering them by teaching them tools of self-advocacy so that they feel confident enough to try and solve problems on their own. So the first step in preparing long-term care residents for self-advocacy is education. And Mackenzie's going to talk a little bit about how we educate residents, staff, and family members about resident rights.
So I will say, as ombudsman, we love to educate people about our program and what we do as ombudsman in addition to resident rights. Oftentimes when we go to facilities, I'll hear residents say, now that I'm here, I need to follow their rules, and I no longer have these choices. And we need to remind them that they do. And several ways that we do that, one being on our routine visits, we have a list of resident rights, a sheet of paper. We also, resident council meetings that we go to on a regular basis. And during those resident council meetings, we'll either have a resident talk about one resident right, to highlight that, or we will go up and we will list certain resident rights, and we'll definitely be doing that this month as Resident Rights Month. Other things that we have large posters, actually bigger than this size, that we give the facilities so that they can put up for, families to see right by the elevators, or residents to see in the hallways. We also have fun things like resident rights playing cards. We know that, activities always have people playing cards, or they do it in their room. So we have these that we give out, and each card has a different right on it. We also have journals that we're giving out, which just have, highlight certain rights. And these are really important because residents may come to us and say, I have a concern about a caregiver that treated me this way at some time, and we'll ask, do you know their name? And they'll say, I can't remember. Or what shift was it? I can't remember. So we say, we want you to have this to write things down. But you could also write down other things, doctor's appointments, whatever it might be. But we find that they have residents have actually really enjoyed these. Or bookmarks, something as small as this that people can have that also highlight resident rights. And then another thing that we give out, which I notice this a lot, I'll be in a resident room with their door closed talking to them privately, and a caregiver, nurse, or whoever it might be will just walk in. And, or they'll knock and then come in. They won't wait to hear the resident say, come in. And I'll say, do they do that often? And I'll say, sometimes. I'm like, would you like one of these? Because then, just reminds people that they have the right to privacy in their rooms. And then also on the back, of course, reminders of resident rights. But those are a few things that we like to give out. And again, just reminding, people will mention retaliation or other things, and we'll say, oh, hey, well, I have this for you, just to remind you, let you know that you have the right, or these are your rights. So that's ways that we educate.
Well, thank you all very much for coming in. Thank you for what you do. God bless you for it. And so if I am a resident and I have a concern, who is the best person to approach or to reach out to?
We also give out cards when we go out and visit, and our numbers are usually posted right by the entrance of the door, so they can reach out to us that way. And then we have to build a certain rapport with the staff there to resolve any issues. So they are well aware of us as well. So I'll have sometimes a staff member, say, so-and-so wants to speak to you. And again, we get calls from family members and residents if we've given out their information. But I would say that they could call us, or, while we're out on a visit, get our attention, or I don't know if you have any other things to add.
We distribute our informational postcards with our contact information when we visit residents, so we try to do our best to make sure every resident has one of those cards. Often when we distribute these resident rights posters that are posted in communities, we write our contact information at the bottom so that everybody has that visible. Yeah, and we're a good resource for voicing a concern, because we can help residents make their concern known anonymously. As Mackenzie mentioned, sometimes retaliation is a concern, so they want something brought to management's attention but don't want their name attached to it. So we help voice concerns collectively for a group of residents and can do that anonymously.
And do you know if, do they appoint people at each residence or nursing home or assisted living that they know who to go to? Is there a point person that's like their local ombudsman in their facility?
Mm-hmm.
So they know what, first try to take care of it locally, but do they all have a certain person that they know this is the person in charge?
Within each community, there should be a grievance officer or someone who can be a point person for concerns, but often in the resident council meetings that I attend, residents are instructed, tell any staff member if you have a concern. Maybe you're most comfortable talking to the nursing assistant who cares for you regularly. To talk to whoever you're comfortable, and then staff are trained of how to bring that matter to the right person.
And sometimes instead of calling it a grievance, it's a negative term, call it opportunities for improvement.
There you go.
And the next question, you talked about not knowing sometimes who the person is. Are they required to wear name tags in these facilities?
Yes.
I know in hospitals they are, but I didn't know. Okay. And one last thing, after COVID, obviously, was a very, very, very challenging time that none of us anticipated. And lots of these residents had their liberties taken away from them. It was a crisis at the time. But since then, has there ever been any opportunity to go back and look what would happen if we had that happen again for their rights and responsibilities during a pandemic? I mean, has that been discussed? Like, what would we do differently? I mean, I know my mother-in-law was stuck in for over a year, and we had to wave to her from the porch. It was challenging, but if that occurred again, what would we do different? Is that something that you all talk about?
So currently, COVID is still with us, so we do encounter times where there is an outbreak at a community, but visitors are still allowed. You're just advised that there's an outbreak, wear a mask. Even excluding COVID, there are other infectious diseases like MRSA. So when I visit a resident, there would be a cart perhaps outside that room where I might be advised to wear gloves or a gown if there was going to be any kind of contact, but there's usually not in our role. But I think that communities now are equipped to know how to cope with an infectious disease situation.
It would be handled maybe different. I mean, that was an unprecedented situation, but, I mean, there was a period of time you couldn't leave or you couldn't come back. You had to go to certain
Right.
isolation, and, that's all we knew at the time, but hopefully we'd learn from that and would have different procedures or policies set in place because that was a very difficult time for people in those facilities.
The isolation is what was so difficult for people. And I think that that is the biggest, or should be the biggest lesson learned, is finding ways for people to safely meet with their family or have contact with their family, and not just on a screen. People that have dementia, they perceive the world around them differently than what we do. And so when they're seeing somebody on a screen, they're seeing it differently. They may not understand what's happening. They don't understand who's talking to them necessarily. And so, again, I think it's definitely one of the things that should be focused on to make sure that residents have access to visitors safely, of course, but isolating people. I mean, there were so many people who really suffered from that isolation that went on for a very long time.
Yes, and I just hopefully, learn from that to have the more rights and responsibilities at all times, and not just that you have to leave forever. Thank you, I appreciate that.
And thank you for all you do, and you've been through some trying times, I'm sure learned, but thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Very important for the residents to know that you're going and visiting these facilities. I count, 38 total in the county. So important for them to know that you're checking in on them, but also important for the owners and operators to know that you're paying them a visit as well. Not to suggest, anything bad's going on, but it's important to make sure any business in Carroll County is being held accountable to the standards and regulations that are expected of them.
Is this a new position for Carroll County in the last few years?
No.
But you've had it for a long time.
No, the Ombudsman program was authorized, I want to say, like in 1973, under the Older Americans Act, and it's just continued to grow from there. But the Ombudsman program was established, I would say, probably over 30 years ago
Okay.
within Carroll County
Because,
government.
there was a lot of discussion from some of the rights advocates to have more ombudsmans, and I thought we already had it. This was a number of years ago, but we do all have them. So- And I have your proclamation.
Commissioner Gordon, did you want to say something? I saw your microphone turn on.
I did just briefly. I just wanted to thank you for all the hard work and dedication for people in the community. And just one thing, if I could, when you have a moment, could you either email or send over? I would like to see some of the information that's handed out to residents as to their rights and so forth. Just would like to better educate myself on that if possible. I'd greatly appreciate it.
And we probably all like to have a copy of that.
Yeah, yep,
Absolutely.
Copies for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for mentioning that, Tom.
Thank you.